Welcome to NibblePop Stories. Today we will hear the story of Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. Robinson Crusoe is born in the year 1632 in the city of York, England. He comes from a comfortable, well-off family. His father, whose name is Kreutzner, is originally from Germany. He moves to England and becomes successful through trade. After settling in England, he moves to York and marries an English woman. Her family name is Robinson, a respected and well-known name in that area. Over time, people in England mispronounce their family name, and so it changes from Kreutzner to Crusoe. This is how Robinson Crusoe gets the name by which everyone knows him. Robinson has two older brothers. One of them joins the army and dies in a battle against the Spaniards. The second brother goes away and is never heard from again. Robinson is the third son in the family. Because of this, he does not receive formal training in any trade or profession. Instead, from a young age, he feels a strong desire to travel and see the world, especially by going to sea. His father is a thoughtful and wise man. He strongly advises Robinson not to go to sea. He wants him to study law, stay at home, and live a quiet, comfortable life in the middle class. His father believes that the middle class is the happiest place to be. It avoids the hardships of the poor and the pride or troubles of the rich. He says Robinson already has everything he needs to live a good and happy life as long as he stays home and works hard. But Robinson cannot stop thinking about adventure. He dreams of the sea and faraway places. Even though his parents warn him, he decides to follow his own path. Around the age of 18, when a friend invites him to travel on a ship going from Hull to London, Robinson agrees. He does not tell his family or ask for their blessing. He leaves home in secret and joins the voyage. The journey begins with a terrible storm. Since Robinson has never been at sea before, he becomes terrified. He regrets running away and prays to God, promising that if he survives, he will return home and never go to sea again. When the storm finally passes and the sea becomes calm, Robinson feels relieved. Soon he forgets his fear and breaks his promise. He decides to continue the journey. Not long after, another storm strikes. This one is even worse than the first. The ship is in great danger, and everyone on board is full of fear. In the end, the ship sinks. Robinson and some of the crew escape in a small boat. They are lucky and reach the shore safely. Even after this frightening experience, Robinson still refuses to return home. Instead, he travels to London. There, he struggles with what to do next. Part of him wants to go back to his family and admit his mistake, but he feels ashamed. He worries that people will laugh at him or look down on him. In the end, Robinson's thirst for adventure becomes stronger than his fears. The memory of the storms and danger fades, and once again he starts searching for a chance to sail on another voyage. Robinson eventually meets a sea captain who offers him a place on an upcoming merchant voyage to Guinea along the coast of Africa. The captain tells him that he doesn't need to pay for the journey and may bring goods to trade if he wants. This offer excites Robinson, and he agrees to join the voyage. During the trip, he learns some basic skills in navigation from the captain, such as using mathematics to plan a course and keeping track of the ship's position. Robinson also brings about 40 pounds with him, which he uses to buy simple trade goods suggested by the captain. When they reach Africa, he trades these goods for gold dust. By the time they return to England, Robinson has made nearly £300, a large profit. This success fills him with ambition and a stronger desire for more voyages. He prepares to join another voyage to Guinea, but the captain has died and a new captain takes his place. Robinson leaves £200 with the widow of the old captain for safekeeping and boards the new ship for Africa. This time, misfortune strikes early. Near the Canary Islands, their ship is attacked and captured by a Turkish pirate ship. The pirates take Robinson as a prisoner and bring him to Salé, a port city ruled by Moors. Robinson is made the slave of the pirate ship's captain. He lives in hard conditions for 2 years. He is assigned the task of fishing because of his natural skill. Robinson constantly thinks about escape. At first, he hopes that a European ship might come and capture the pirate captain, which would give him a chance to be free. But when that hope fades, he begins planning his own escape. His chance finally comes when the pirate captain sends him out to fish in a small boat. Robinson secretly prepares for this moment. He loads the boat with food, water, weapons, and tools. He sets out to sea with 2 other slaves, a man named Ishmael and a boy named Zuri. Once they are far enough from shore, Robinson throws Ishmael overboard and threatens him with a gun, forcing him to swim back to land. Zuri, on the other hand, chooses to stay with Robinson and promises to follow him wherever he goes. With only a small boat and limited supplies, Robinson and Zuri begin their journey south along the dangerous African coast. Along the way, they see wild animals, including lions. Robinson shoots one lion dead, and he and Zuri skin it. They keep sailing south toward the Canary Islands. One day, they meet native people who are amazed when they see Robinson shoot and kill a leopard. They give Robinson and Zuri some fresh water. The two continue sailing down the coast, still hoping to find rescue or reach a safer land where they can start a new life. Fortunately, Robinson and Zuri are soon rescued by a Portuguese ship sailing to Brazil. The captain is kind. He buys Robinson's small boat and offers to buy Zuri as well. At first, Robinson is unsure about giving up Zuri's freedom, but the captain promises to set Zuri free in 10 years if he agrees to become a Christian. With that promise, Robinson agrees. When they arrive in Brazil, Robinson lives for a while on a sugar plantation. He sees how profitable the business is and decides to start his own. He buys some land and begins a new life as a planter. He works hard and slowly builds up his estate. Alongside his neighbor, a man named Wells, Robinson grows food crops and tobacco and starts preparing his land for sugarcane. To manage the growing workload, he buys a European servant and a black slave. Even though his plantation is doing well, Robinson still feels uneasy. He is restless, as if he's trapped like a man stranded on an island. During this time, he meets other merchants and planters who secretly plan a trading voyage to Guinea to buy slaves. They ask Robinson to join them and help manage the cargo and trade. Before he leaves, Robinson writes a will naming the Portuguese captain as his heir. He also makes arrangements for managing his property while he is away. On September 1st, 1659, exactly 8 years after he first left home, Robinson sets sail for Africa. At first, the journey goes well, but soon disaster strikes. A powerful hurricane hits the ship and batters it for 12 days. One crew member dies of a fever, another man and a boy are swept overboard by the waves. Eventually, the damaged ship reaches the Caribbean, where another storm strikes. It pushes the ship onto a sandbank, breaking the rudder. The crew quickly launches a lifeboat and tries to reach the shore. But as they row closer, a giant wave overturns the boat. Everyone is thrown into the sea. Robinson struggles to survive in the rough water but finally makes it to land. When he looks around, he sees no one else. All the others are gone. The ship lies broken, far out in the sea. Robinson realizes that he is stranded on an apparently uninhabited island with nothing but a knife, some tobacco, and a pipe. He climbed up into a tree and slept there that night. The next morning, Robinson swims out to the wrecked ship and finds many useful things still inside. He builds a small raft and makes several trips back and forth, bringing food, tools, weapons, and clothing to shore. Among the supplies, he even finds books and several Bibles. He also brings the ship's dog and 2 cats back with him. Over the next 13 days, he returns to the wreck 12 times. On one of the later visits, he finds 36 pounds in money. He stares at it and reflects sadly on how useless money is to him now. Using the ship's sail, he builds a tent near the beach and surrounds it with boxes and barrels to protect himself from wild animals. He carefully organizes all his supplies inside. He builds shelves and tables to keep things in order. To understand where he is, Robinson climbs to the top of a nearby hill. From there, he sees clearly that he is alone on an uninhabited island. One day, a violent storm blows in and carries away what's left of the ship. On the 12th day after the shipwreck, he sets up a large wooden cross and carves into it the date of his arrival, September 30, 1659. He decides to cut a notch into the cross for each day that passes so he can keep track of time. He also begins keeping a journal. In it, he notes that he can no longer tell which day is Sunday, so he can't properly keep the Sabbath anymore. One day, during a thunderstorm, lightning strikes near his stash of gunpowder. He realizes how close he has come to losing everything. After that, he carefully separates the gunpowder into small bags and hides them in different spots around the island to stay safe. As he explores the island more, Robinson finds fresh water, fruit trees, and land that is good for growing crops. He also discovers a cave, which he decides is safer than his tent. He moves his home into the cave and settles there. With time, Robinson learns how to survive. He hunts wild goats, catches birds, and grows food from seeds he saved. He even tames a goat. He slowly gets used to living alone and often talks to himself when he feels lonely. Sometimes he wonders why he alone has survived the shipwreck. He begins to believe that God must have saved him for a special purpose. This belief gives him hope that one day he might be rescued. Robinson decides it's time to build a proper shelter, one that will protect him from wild animals and bad weather. He picks a spot near a rocky cliff and builds a strong fence around it using wooden stakes. Inside this area, he carefully arranges all his supplies. He makes a table and chairs and places everything in order. Using leftover cloth from the ship, he makes curtains and bed coverings. Slowly, his camp begins to feel more like a real home. Not everything Robinson tries is successful. He fails to tame the island's pigeons and is unable to make candles from goat fat. But then he makes a surprising discovery. After tossing out a few corn husks in a shaded area, he later finds barley plants growing. Amazed, he carefully gathers the grain and saves it for planting. Over time, this small start allows him to grow enough grain to bake his own bread. On April 16th, an earthquake nearly kills him, and after 2 aftershocks, he is relieved to feel it end with no damage to his life or property. Immediately after the earthquake, a hurricane arrives. It forced Robinson to go back into the cave, though he feared it would collapse. He realized then that he would need to build a new dwelling, since the cave was unsafe in event of an earthquake. While exploring the island one day, Robinson discovers a beautiful valley-like area further inland. It's green, fertile, and sheltered from the wind. He eventually builds a second shelter there, a backup hideout in case he ever needs it. Eventually, Robinson crafts tools like a scythe and a sickle to help with harvesting. As his skills improve, he starts making better clothing from the hides of animals he hunts. He sews together goat skins to make a hat, a belt, and even an umbrella to shield himself from the sun and rain. From plant fibers, he twists and weaves ropes for daily use. Each passing day, Robinson becomes more self-reliant, turning the island from a place of survival into a place of life. In mid-June, Robinson starts feeling unwell. On June 18th, it rains all day and he stays inside. He feels cold and begins to suffer from severe headaches and fever. His condition worsens over the next few days, and a deep fear grips him. He realizes that if he dies, he will die alone on this island with no one to care for him. Lying weak and helpless, Robinson begins to remember how his father had warned him not to chase a life of adventure. He thinks about how he disobeyed his parents and left home without their blessing. Now, in the middle of sickness and solitude, he believes that God is punishing him for his pride and reckless choices. He reflects on the life he has lived, chasing personal desires instead of living honestly and with purpose. In his weakness, he turns to the Bible and begins to read it more carefully. One verse strikes him deeply. "Call on me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver thee, and thou shalt glorify me." Though he still wonders whether God will truly save him, the verse brings him comfort and a new sense of meaning. Robinson prays. He asks God not to just heal his body, but to forgive his soul. He begs for mercy and promises that if he survives, he will live a better, more faithful life. After several painful days, Robinson slowly begins to recover. When he regains enough strength, he makes himself some food and steps outside again. The experience changes him deeply. Before, he had only thought about staying alive and finding a way to escape. Now, he begins to think about faith, repentance, and how to live in a way that honors God. After living on the island for 10 months, Robinson becomes certain that no rescue is coming. He is also convinced that he is completely alone. With this in mind, he decides to explore the island more thoroughly. During his explorations, he discovers wild tobacco and sugar plants, as well as a forest filled with various fruit trees. He builds a smaller shelter in the forest, where he sometimes stays for a change. He also dries grapes in the sun to make raisins. As he travels further inland, Robinson climbs to the top of a hill to get a better look at his surroundings. From this high point, he sees that the island is not very large. A hill stands at the center, surrounded by valleys and forests. He also spots a river or stream that runs into the sea. This discovery lifts his spirits and gives him more hope for surviving in the long term. Robinson continues to explore, reaching the eastern side of the island. There, he notices signs that other people may have been there before, possibly natives or visitors from nearby islands. Later, when he reaches the southern point of the island, he finds it rough and rocky. Still, he sees signs of animals, including goats and turtles. He collects turtle eggs and eats them. When he finishes his journey and returns to his main shelter, he feels more confident and prepared to survive for years. However, a new concern appears. Robinson begins to run low on ink. Since he has no way to make more, he decides to stop writing daily entries in his journal and focus only on recording important events. After a long period of constant rain, Robinson realizes that a full year has passed since he first arrived on the island. He spends the anniversary fasting and praying. From that day on, he decides to track weeks as well as days and to properly observe the Sabbath each week. Robinson plants his grain during the dry season and sees that it doesn't grow. He learns from the mistake. He creates a chart of the dry and rainy months so he can plan his farming better in the future. During this time, he also teaches himself how to make wicker baskets, copying the basket makers he remembers from his childhood. When the rainy season begins, he plants rice and grain again. But soon birds come and eat his crops. Angry and frustrated, Robinson shoots several of the birds and hangs their bodies as scarecrows above the field. This works. The birds stay away after that. Robinson also wants to make clay pots for cooking and storage. At first, he fails. The pots collapse or crack, and he feels discouraged. But with time, he learns how to shape, fire, and even glaze his pottery. He also catches a parrot, tames it, and names it Paul. Over time, he teaches the bird to say its own name. Even with all these successes, Robinson often feels sad and alone. His work is constant and exhausting. Some days he is so low in spirit that he stops working altogether. He just sits silently for hours, staring at the ground, lost in thought. At the same time, Robinson begins to grow spiritually. He reads the Bible more regularly and finds comfort in its words. One morning, a verse speaks to him deeply. I will never, never leave thee nor forsake thee. He feels as though God is speaking directly to him. He wonders whether true happiness is even possible in such isolation. At first, he almost feels thankful to God for bringing him to this island. But he admits to himself that he still longs to escape and cannot fully pretend to be grateful. Daily survival is hard. Without proper tools or help, simple tasks take forever. For example, Robinson once spends over 40 days making a single wooden board, something two skilled workers could have done in a few hours with the right tools. He thinks about how much effort goes into something as basic as making bread, from planting and harvesting grain to grinding and baking it. He compares his life to someone living in the raw state of nature, when nothing is easy and everything must be earned through hard work and patience. As time goes on, Robinson adjusts his routines, becomes more organized, and disciplines his mind to stay focused. Robinson enters his third year on the island with growing confidence in his survival skills. He expands his farming efforts, preparing more land to grow enough grain for his needs. Next, Robinson turns his attention to food preparation. He needs a mortar to grind grain into flour for bread. Unable to find suitable stone, he carves a large wooden bowl from hardwood and creates a heavy pestle. Making a sieve to separate flour from chaff presents another puzzle. Robinson finds some muslin cloth among the ship's supplies that serve his purpose. For baking, he uses broad, shallow earthen vessels as makeshift ovens, heating them with coals and embers. By his fourth year, his grain harvests provide abundant food. His bread making skills improve dramatically, and he even learns to make cakes and puddings. Throughout this period, Robinson dreams of escape and return to civilization. He examines the ship's boat, which had washed ashore during the storm. He spends weeks trying to turn it upright and move it to the water, but the task proves impossible for one person. Eventually, he abandons this effort. This failure leads Robinson to consider building his own canoe. He selects an enormous cedar tree and spends months felling it and shaping it into a vessel. The finished canoe impresses him greatly, large enough to carry 26 men and all his possessions. However, the completed canoe sits 100 yards from water and moving it proves impossible. Robinson attempts to dig a canal to bring water to the boat, but quickly realizes the project would take over a decade to complete. He finally accepts defeat, leaving his magnificent canoe stranded on dry land. This experience teaches Robinson an important lesson about planning and understanding one's limitation before beginning major undertakings. The failed canoe project consumes nearly a full year of effort with nothing to show for it. As Robinson marks his fourth anniversary on the island, his spiritual perspective undergoes significant transformation. He realizes that his current situation, while lonely, protects him from the corruptions and temptations of civilized society. He has everything necessary for survival and comfort. His small kingdom requires no competition with others, and his simple needs are abundantly met. This time, Robinson decides to build a smaller boat. He believes that, with it, he could sail around the island and explore it more thoroughly. The task takes him over 5 years of slow, careful work. But finally, when he manages to get the boat into the water, his joy is overwhelming. After nearly 7 years on the island, he feels he is at last able to leave its boundaries behind. He estimates that it will take about 10 days to sail around the entire island. So, he prepares carefully, packing food, water, tools, and weapons. Still, he hesitates. What if there are savage tribes living on the far side? From what he has read and heard, some tribes in South America are rumored to be cannibals. In the end, he decides to go, but only once. He will sail around the island and then return. No exploring beyond that. He sets out on a clear day. At first, things go smoothly, but once he enters open water, a hidden current grabs hold of his boat. It begins to pull him further and further away from the shore. No matter how hard he rows, he cannot break free from its grip. The island grows smaller in the distance until he can barely make it out at all. Panic sets in. He prays to God with all his heart, begging to be saved. He promises that if he survives, he will never again try to leave the island. Just then, as if in answer, a massive wave crashes down on the boat, spinning it wildly like the lid of a barrel caught in a whirlpool. What happens next is a blur. Where exactly he ends up, he can hardly remember. After a long struggle, Robinson feels the waves begin to weaken. Sensing this might be his moment, he grabs the sail's rope and pulls with all his remaining strength. A sudden gust of wind pushes the boat towards the island. He jumps into the water, guides the boat to shore, and collapses onto the sand, exhausted. He thanks God and vows never to disobey him again. He believes this near-death experience has taught him his lesson. Robinson hides the boat deep in a thicket, not even wanting to see it. He realizes that for years, a quiet but stubborn desire to escape the island has lived inside him. A desire not even prayer or Bible reading could fully silence. Now, in a single moment, he lets that desire go. He figures his farm must be closer from this side of the island, though it could still take days to reach. He tells himself, even if it takes a month, he'll walk, but he will never go back to sea. After 4 or 5 days of difficult travel, he reaches his farmhouse deep in the forest. There, he collapses into his tent and sleeps deeply. Later, half asleep, he hears a voice, faint, sad, and childlike, calling his name. Robin Crusoe? He wonders if he is dreaming. Then he recognizes the voice. It's Paul, his parrot. Paul repeats his name and asks where he's been. Robinson tells Paul that he is home and promises never to leave again. 8 more years pass. During this time, Robinson builds a life that feels like a small kingdom. He raises goats, fences them in, and lets a herd of about 40 roam freely. He learns to make cheese and butter. He eats in his house facing the sea, surrounded by his dog, 2 cats, and Paul. Slowly, he stops longing for human company. Then, one afternoon, while walking along the beach, he notices something strange in the sand. A footprint. He freezes. It's not his. The print is bare, not made by his goatskin sandals. He studies it closely. Whose could it be? A civilized man? Or a cannibal? Terror grips him. He imagines eyes watching from the trees. In 15 years, he hasn't seen a single person. He remembers tales of cannibals on nearby islands. Has he been discovered? Is he being hunted? He flees home, shaken. That night, he lies awake, convinced his shelter is insecure. For 5 days, he doesn't leave his tent, paralyzed by fear. Eventually, he decides to act. He sketches out plans to build a second, stronger wall outside his original fence. Over the following months, he gathers branches, wreckage, vines, and rope. He constructs a thick, tall barrier and hides guns in secret panels. Later, he returns to the beach to check the footprint. He wonders if it was a mistake, if he imagined it. But what he finds next is far worse. A pit filled with ashes, burnt sticks, and bones. Human bones. Skulls, ribs, legs. Fear turns to horror, then rage. He vows to defend his island. He remembers his gunpowder and starts planning a trap in the bush along the shoreline. From the forest, he will guard this place. He waits in hiding. Days pass, then weeks, then months. He skips meals, loses sleep, but the cannibals never show up. Over time, Robinson starts to question himself. Maybe he went too far in judging the cannibals. They aren't Christians, he tells himself. Perhaps their culture doesn't consider cannibalism a sin. Just as Europeans eat goats or sheep, maybe they eat people. The idea still horrifies him, but he tells himself it's not his place to interfere. As long as they don't threaten him, it's not his concern. He stops guarding the beach. Years go by without any sign of the cannibals. He begins to forget the fear. Then, one morning, the peace is shattered. He wakes up, climbs a hill, and notices something strange on the shore. A glint of light catches his eye. Unusual, since the sun hasn't risen yet. He fetches his telescope. What he sees shocks him. A group of half-naked men dancing around a fire. Their faces are painted, their movements wild. The cannibals have returned, and they are just 3 miles from his home. Robinson drops to the ground, trembling. Later, the tide rises and the cannibals leave in their boat. Robinson grabs his gun and hurries to the beach. By the time he arrives, the fire has burnt out. The ground is littered with human bones. The sight fills him with dread. He wonders, after 22 years, is this how it ends? In a cannibal's belly? That night he dreams. In the dream, Robinson is hiding in the forest, watching the beach. The cannibals return, and this time they bring a prisoner. The captive is tied up and placed at the center of the circle while the others dance. Suddenly, the man pushes one of them, breaks free, and runs. Robinson follows him. The man reaches Robinson's shelter and looks around desperately for help. Robinson calls out, welcomes him in, promises to protect him. For a moment, Robinson feels overjoyed, not just to help someone, but simply to see another human being. Then he wakes up. The dream fades, but the feeling stays. He realizes how deeply he still longs for companionship. That year, the cannibals do not return, but Robinson still climbs the hill from time to time, watching the coastline. Then, one day, he sees something incredible through his telescope. Far out at sea, a broken ship drifts in the waves. It flies a Spanish flag. It's a European ship. Robinson wonders if help has finally come. Why has the ship broken apart? How many more tests will God take? Still, he hopes someone might have survived and swam to shore. He rushes to check, but when he reaches the coast, he finds nothing. No signs of life. Maybe all have drowned. The next day he rows out to the wreck. The cabins are full of fine clothes. He hasn't worn a cotton shirt in years. He finds barrels and bottles of wine. Though he has grown grapes, he has never made wine himself. It feels like rediscovering a lost pleasure. Then, in a chest, he finds heaps of gold, bars and coins. The ship must have belonged to wealthy traders. Though gold is useless to him now, he takes it. If God sent it, maybe there's a reason. He brings everything back to his home, hoping life will stay peaceful. But just weeks later, he sees 5 boats approaching. Around 30 cannibals land with 2 prisoners. He wants to help, but what can one man do against so many? Suddenly, the cannibals strike one prisoner with a club. But the second captive escapes and runs. 2 cannibals chase him toward a hill. Robinson grabs his gun, aims and fires. Both pursuers fall. The escaped prisoner drops to the ground, stunned, thinking lightning has struck. Robinson runs over and unties him. The man stares at him in shock. Robinson smiles to show he means no harm. The man speaks in a language he doesn't know, but the sound of another human voice moves Robinson to tears. He remembers his dream, the man running to his shelter. Now it's real. He invites the man to follow him. The man bows low, touching his forehead to the ground, a sign of friendship. Robinson points to him and says, Friday. Then to himself, Master. Friday repeats the names and smiles. Friday turns out to be smart, gentle, and loyal. He quickly learns English. Robinson teaches him about food, morals, even clothes. More than anything, having someone to talk to transforms Robinson's life. One day, Friday asks, if God is real, why is there a devil? Why doesn't God destroy him? Robinson is surprised. He realizes he hasn't truly questioned his beliefs before. Months pass. Sometimes Friday feels homesick, but he remains cheerful. They farm and live peacefully. Then one morning, they spot more boats, cannibals again, with two prisoners. One of them is white, a survivor from the wreck. Friday suddenly cries out. The other prisoner is his father. Without waiting, Friday charges at the cannibals. Robinson follows. Together, they fight and defeat most of the attackers. A few escape by boat. Friday hugs his father, weeping. They bring both men back home and care for them. The white man is stunned to find a European living here alone and begs to hear his story. Robinson says there will be time for that. First, he asks where they are. The man says the island is near Trinidad, close to the Spanish coast, but full of dangers. When asked if others survived, the man says yes, but they are still at risk. Robinson decides they must help. With more hands, food and water won't be a problem. He sets up a tent for the newcomers inside his wall. Together they rescue the rest of the survivors. Farming grows, the goats thrive, and the island becomes a small, thriving world of its own. One morning, about a year later, Friday runs in, out of breath. He says the cannibals are back. Robinson gets worried. They need to go see for themselves. From the hilltop, Robinson uses his telescope. What he sees leaves him stunned. A boat flying the English flag, the Union Jack. But something is wrong. 3 of the 11 men on board are tied up. Friday asks if they have come to kill. Robinson says maybe, but not to eat. Englishmen don't do that. These are people from his homeland. The flag touches something deep in him. After 28 years, to see it again feels like a dream. But the prisoners worry him. Has the ship been taken over by pirates? They hide behind rocks near the shore and watch the crew. Once the boat lands and the free men go into the jungle, Robinson and Friday quietly approach the prisoners. The prisoners are clearly shocked to see them. But before they can scream, Robinson calms them, saying they have nothing to fear. He explains that although the island appears deserted, they aren't alone, and he is a friend. Robinson introduces Friday as his assistant. He explains they are there to help and that they are armed, so there is no need to worry. The captain explains the crew mutinied and left him and 2 others here, hoping cannibals would finish them. If not, the crew would have killed them anyway. Robinson reassures them there are no cannibals on the island now. He unties them, hands them weapons, and leads them to ambush the mutineers. Though outnumbered, they catch the sailors completely off guard in an ambush. In the chaos, the mutineers are quickly captured. Friday jokes, that they can eat the prisoners now. But Robinson reminds him that the men are already half dead with fear and there is no need to scare them further. They lock the prisoners in the goat pen. The captain and his 2 men come to the house. Over a meal, they hear Robinson's story. The captain is amazed. He says he has never known anyone to survive and thrive like this. He asks Robinson if they reclaim the ship, will he return to England? Robinson is speechless at first. Could it really be happening? Has God sent these men to end his exile? But Friday looks shaken. He asks if Robinson will leave him. Robinson promises wherever he goes, Friday goes too. The next day, 10 more sailors arrive. Worried about their missing crewmates, they come searching. Robinson and the captain watch from the hill. Robinson suggests they confuse the newcomers, shouting from all sides when they enter the forest. The plan works. The noise startles the sailors who scatter in panic, making them easy to capture. Back at the boat, the captain grabs a gun and shoots the ringleader. The remaining sailors beg for mercy and offer to help reclaim the ship. That night, the captain and some loyal men set out to take it back. Later, when they return with the ship, the captain embraces Robinson. He says they owe their lives to him. Robinson replies that all he wants is to travel as a passenger on a ship with Friday by his side. The captain agrees and gives him a gift, an English suit. Robinson hasn't worn clothes like these in over 20 years. They visit the goat enclosure to speak with the mutineers. Most of them are truly sorry and the captain forgives them. But 5 of the original mutineers stay stubborn and the captain refuses to take them back. Robinson gives them 2 choices: return to England and face trial, or stay and live honest lives through hard work. Predictably, they choose to stay. Before leaving, Robinson puts the island in the care of Friday's father and the Spanish friends. He leaves behind his goatskin coat, his umbrella, and his parrot, Paul. On December 19, 1686, Robinson and Friday sail for England. He tells Friday, it's been exactly 28 years, 2 months, and 19 days since he was stranded. Friday asks if he is scared to leave. Robinson replies, with you beside me, there is nothing to fear. Paul chirps, Robin Crusoe, where have you been? I came from England, my dear Paul, Robinson says, and now I'm going home. After a long journey, they reach England on June 11, 1687. Robinson's parents have died, but he finds his 2 sisters and helps them. They are poor. Still, his heart feels restless. He travels to Lisbon to find the old Portuguese captain, who is thrilled to see him. The captain has managed his plantation well and helps him sell it. Robinson becomes wealthier than he ever imagined. He lives in England for 7 years, but never truly feels at home. In 1694, he and Friday set out again, this time for the East Indies. Along the way, they stop at the island. Everyone is living peacefully, and the land has grown lush and fruitful. He divides the land equally among the people, though he keeps a share just in case he ever returns. So that brings us to the end of the great adventures of Robinson Crusoe. If you like our content, do consider subscribing. So till our next video, this is Monami Mukherjee signing off. Good night.